But with JJ, when you do make that choice, it is a blind leap. I said earlier today, it is like walking into a pit blindfolded. Could be clouds of cotton candy. Could be happiness and light, and you're right about every instinct you have. This is the next Steve Kerr, X, Y, Z. It's worked out great. You could jump into that pit, and it's a bunch of piranhas.
What's going on? It's Keyshawn, and welcome to my show, All Facts and No Breaks. Joining me to break it all down and top stories in sports this week is Emmy Award-winning journalist and part of my crew on Undisputed, Rachel Nichols. But before we dive into Rachel, I want to remind everyone about their opportunity and chance to join the All Facts Pod giveaway. It's a prize now. It's simple. A signed football from me. And here's how you win it. Subscribe to the All Facts Pod on YouTube. Send us a screenshot. We'll pick a winner after we reach 100,000 subscribers, and that football is going to be special. So, all right, I am joined now by Rachel Nichols and my son, Keyshawn Johnson Jr., as I am every single week. What's up, Rachel?
I'm so digging the new vibe in here. I was here at the very beginning when you were just figuring the pod out, and it was not fancy like this. This is very fancy, and the whole aesthetic is really sharp. I'm impressed, Keyshawn Johnson.
Yeah, well, I mean, the design team, I think, the production staff, the design team.
This is nice. You fancy.
They kind of came up with the idea and design, and this is where we're at now.
I'm telling you.
Speaking of coming up with something, the Timberwolves... The Timberwolves and the Dallas Mavericks play tonight.
Yes, they do.
The Timberwolves were down 3-0 up until the other day, and they won that game in Dallas. What are the chances that you give them to win tonight's game, go back to Dallas at 3-2, or do you think it's going to be like a gentleman's sweep, or it's going to be a sweep in general?
No, I give them a very good chance to win tonight's game. I just don't give them a very good chance to win the series. It is so hard to beat a good team 4 times in a row at this level of the playoffs. There's just a reason. We've never seen it before. They've had 155 instances of this, and 0 times has anyone been able to pull it off. And it's for a reason. And it's a little bit to do with, who's the home team and they're a higher seed and all of that stuff. But it's usually about the fact it's very hard to beat a good team 4 times in a row. And Dallas found that out, because the Timberwolves are a very good team, so they did not win Game 4. And we saw Luka not quite as engaged and up on the game and not quite as engaged in defense. The mental toughness you need in aspect to win 4 in a row is just, it's almost impossible. And so therefore, I don't see the Timberwolves winning 4 in a row, unless, and this is knock on whatever you got.
Oh, here's
some wood. I got it. Knock on wood. But if there's a major injury on the Mavericks side, obviously that will affect, and that could be the difference. And you and I have talked about this. At some point, someone is going to come back from 3-0, and it's more likely now than ever because of the offensive explosion in the NBA. I just think it's unlikely to happen in this series.
Is it really 4 games?
Yes.
Because it's 3-1 now.
Yeah, but again, you have to win 4 in a row.
But that's out the way.
No.
It's out the way.
One is out of the way.
I got the one.
It's not hard.
I got 3 games.
To win 1 in a row.
I'm not even thinking about that, though, Rachel. I'm thinking about 3 games.
I get it.
I'm thinking about 3 games. I've got to win 3 games, and 2 of the 3, guess what? They're at home.
Yes, but again, you have to win 3 games in a row after winning 1 game already.
I'm not going to think about the 1 game.
You don't have to think about it. I'm just telling you, it's hard to maintain that level of focus, physical domination, and luck, by the way.
Or
we've talked about the fact, right, that Luka's shot, that crazy shot, right, goes in on Rudy Gobert. If that shot doesn't go in,
that's what I'm saying.
That's the game. The other way around, right? We've had shots that Naz Reid hit a shot that looked like it was going in and didn't go in. Well, guess what? You are going to run into those situations at some point over 4
Well, you're
games.
gonna need certain things to fall.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way it is. Yeah. You're gonna need
officiating
Ant-Man to do it a certain way. Yeah. You're gonna need Luka to not do it a certain way. I mean, that's just the game, the way it is. But when I'm looking at it, I'm only looking at 3 games left. Or I could go simple, boring coach speak and say 1 game at a time.
1 game at a time.
One game at a time.
You do.
And go from there.
Yeah. I mean, yes, that is, of course, the approach you have to take. And again, someone will do it. It could be this week, but I don't think it will be this week because of the level of talent that each team is facing. I just think they're too evenly matched.
What's the most surprising thing so far in the playoffs?
I think it's two things. I think the second round series between Denver and Minnesota just, to me, was confusing over and over again.
It's only confusing because you was pulling for the Nuggets.
Well, I certainly thought the Nuggets were had the best chance to repeat as champions. But here's what I didn't understand throughout that series. One team wins by, 30. Another team wins by 30. They don't win on their home floors. The Denver Game 7, you had Denver ahead and then certainly basically just got tired because they don't have as strong a bench, Jamal and Nichols at the end. So I just think that whole series was surprising in the way it played out. And then the other really surprising thing is just the level of injuries in the Eastern Conference this year. I am not saying that Boston has cakewalked, but I am saying that when you lose in every series, Jimmy Butler's not playing. Joel Embiid is coming back from an injury. You've got Tyrese Halliburton, who doesn't end up playing games, right? You've got all kinds of situations. Donovan Mitchell misses games, right? It's a shame because we already feel like the West is a deeper conference than the East, but because all of these stars missed games with injury, then it was like a puddle.
But if we took Boston and dropped them
they'd
in the
still
West,
be very good.
They would still be one of the top 4 teams in the West.
So it wasn't,
if not better.
But the level of competition, and again, I just want to, this is different from, does Boston tough enough? Did they deserve it? We haven't seen them play anyone. I'm not making that argument. I am saying that if you were going to watch the Eastern Conference side of the playoffs, you should have gotten better than you got, right? Because most of the big names on a lot of these teams missed games. And that's not what we want to see in the playoffs.
Let's switch to a team that the Mavs did beat in the playoffs in the Los Angeles Clippers, the second team in Los Angeles, maybe even the 5th team in Los Angeles, depending on the sport that you're talking about. So they came to agreement yesterday with Ty Lue on a 5-year, $70 million all-cash guaranteed deal because he's a coach.
That's almost real money, Keyshawn.
And Ballmer is like, whatever, let me open up my safe at home and I got some cash in there for you.
It's safe, a wallet, pocket change in the car.
Pocket change, that's lightweight.
Under the cushions, yeah, exactly.
He got so much money, he doesn't even know where it's all at. Yeah. Is this a good deal or a bad decision for the Clippers or Ty Lue to lock up like this?
I think it's smart on both sides. I think the Clippers know they have one of the best coaches in the NBA, hands down. Ty Lue is so good. He is one of the best X&O coaches in the league, and he's one of the best coaches in dealing with players. I just seeing someone who's that consistent on both levels is just mind-blowing and not something we see. And you see teams like your team that has had 6 coaches in 13 years. If you find someone who is elite, you have to hold on to them. And Ty, who has been underpaid at stops in his career, who got lowballed by your Lakers, it was smart of him to stick with the owner, who, as you said, can get $70 million out of the change in his car, and make a commitment to be in one place and build something. I think he's happy there.
I wonder what that conversation's like when he has to move money. Ballmer. No, I really want to know what that conversation is like, Keyshawn.
It's different.
Because I remember when I was drafted by the Jets and I was on the phone with Leon Hess. And one of the things Leon Hess said is, I guess I got to call my bank and move the money now.
Right.
It was just a weird conversation to hear him say it, because obviously when you have that type of money, it's like, what do you say? It's like, I got a plan, not like you and I, Keyshawn, where we got a plan for our next meal or the shoes that we gonna buy. It's like with him, it's like, I got to spend $70 million on a coach. Just make sure we have that somewhere.
Well, how much allowance did you get growing up?
Probably like $50 a week.
Okay, how much money do you think Steve Ballmer's kids got growing up?
Probably $50 a week. I mean, look. People with money like that, sometimes they don't spoil their kids and make them work for it and stuff. Yeah. Maybe not $50, but I don't think they were driving Ferraris.
They'll be all right.
Put it that way, Keyshawn.
I think
they'll be fine. I don't think they have anything to worry about at all. But the Lakers got a lot to worry about. Now that Ty Lue clearly is a Clipper, he's off the board. There's Sam Cassell that's potentially left. There's the other assistant,
James Borrego.
Burrell's left. Now you got Redick, and all Laker signs, and the media is pointing towards J.J. Redick getting the job. Is that honestly the way the Lakers are about to go?
I mean, look, they don't have a ton of choices. I think that's one thing to remember. They decided to fire Darvin without having a clear idea of who they were going to go get. And Jason Kidd and Ty Lue can both thank LeBron James for the fact that they just got big contract extensions, which they deserved and I think would have gotten contract extensions anyway. But the fact that there was another team out there offering, hey, if either one of you even thinks about leaving Dallas or the Clippers, come to us. I am sure having that stalking horse definitely helped in their contract negotiations. So when you look at the choices that they have out there, I may think it's better to go with a more experienced coach. I have long wanted to see what Sam Cassell could do as a head coach, and I still would like to see that somewhere. But with JJ, when you do make that choice, it is a blind leap. I said earlier today, it is like walking into a pit blindfolded. Could be clouds of cotton candy. Could be happiness and light, and you're right about every instinct you have. This is the next Steve Kerr, X, Y, Z. It's worked out great. You could jump into that pit, and it's a bunch of piranhas. There's literally no way to know. There is no way for us to make an evaluation of what kind of coach JJ would be because there is zero information. And there's no way really for the Lakers to make an evaluation. We know he's a great X and O mind. His ATOs are going to be great. We know that he's young and relates to other players well. But that's it. That's all we know. And what kind of coach he's going to be, what kind of manager he's going to be, what kind of rotations he's going to have, how he manages guys in the locker room, how he manages assistant coaches and scouting. We don't know any of that.
Yeah, I'm a little afraid of what could come about because I don't know the plan. Like, is the plan to go get a high-priced free agent? Is the plan to trade some assets to go get another big? Because one of the biggest problems for the Lakers is Denver.
Yep.
And then there's Sacramento.
And
like
Minnesota.
Sabonis owns us, Fox owns us. Then there's Minnesota with Gobert and Towns and a young Ant-Man. And there's OKC. Then there's Memphis coming back when they get Ja. There's an emerging Houston team.
Dallas.
There's a Wemby that's going. There's
OKC.
a Dallas. It's just
Spurs.
like, it's like, what are we going to do? Are we going to stand pat with what we have and a coach that's never coached before because he has a nice podcast and he likes to get up there with LeBron and talk basketball so it sounds good and it's sexy because he wears nice suits and he got good hair and he reminds everybody in the Laker organization of a young Pat Riley? Like, what's going to be the real – no, you're laughing, Keyshawn, but what's going to be the real outcome?
Well, look, I think your point about the roster is the most important point. Yeah. Darvin Ham, if he was not handed a team that was exactly the same team, basically, I mean, a few additions, but most of those didn't work out because of injury issues, is in its heart the same team that got swept the year before, and then you expect them to beat that team the year after, that is not on Darvin Ham.
No.
So I agree there were cracks in Darvin's relationship with his two stars. However, if the roster was different, I think those cracks get papered over the way they do when you win, and the roster was not at a level of some of those elite Western Conference teams. So if they can convince the right third star to come, great. I do think that's going to be a tough order, though, because there just aren't as many guys out there as you would want, and you've got to convince them to come play with LeBron and AD instead of having their own team and all this stuff. If they can't get the right guy, I think they are much smarter getting better role players than taking a flyer on like a big name just because he's a big name. We saw that with the Knicks for years, right? They did it the wrong way, and now they're doing it the right way. You want to see the Lakers do that, too.
Well, hopefully they will. So last week, the All-NBA team was announced, first, second, third team. You mentioned the two stars. Anthony Davis made a team, and so did LeBron James. But there's others that are out there that did not make a team. So who was snubbed that should have made the team?
Well, look, Jaylen Brown is certainly one of the big names of someone who it was surprising to some people he didn't make the team. The thing about All-NBA, though, that is interesting to remember, first of all, there was only 15 slots. It is who do you think are the best 15 players in the NBA. It has much less to do with team success than any other award we have, right? MVP is partly based on team success. Defensive Player of the Year, we partly think about team success. All-NBA is just how good is this guy? How good were his stats? How good is he as a player from the eye test, that kind of thing. And there's only 15 spots. So with any of these guys, look, I voted for Paul George on my third team All-NBA. I think he should have made it when you look at his numbers next to some of the guys who made it. But he didn't because there's only 15 slots. So I just think that, yes, being snubbed from All-NBA is frustrating. Jaylen Brown talked about it being frustrating being snubbed from the second All-Defensive team that he thought he deserved to be on. Jaylen Brown was the leading runner-up, sort of. He was the next guy in to get an All-NBA slot, but he just got cut off right at the end there. So I think there will always be snubs, and Jaylen Brown has made up for it already with the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and he could get the Finals MVP this year. If they play Dallas and they beat Dallas and he does a great job defending Luka and makes some of those shots like he did in the Pacers series, you give him the MVP.
Who should have been on it, Keyshawn, that didn't?
I think Tyrese Maxey personally should be on the third team, maybe, and then maybe Brunson in the first team instead of Jayson Tatum.
Who do you take off if you're putting Maxey in?
Sabonis.
Okay.
But Sabonis had crazy double-doubles.
He went crazy. I don't know. Maybe, see, that's hard. Like she said, it's 15 of the best players, so it's like you can't really go wrong, but there's always going to be snubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's always going to be snubs in these accolades, postseason type awards. So speaking of postseason and accolades and awards, so this season, Rachel, the NBA wanted guys to play at least 65 games in the regular season to qualify for certain things, and it didn't happen with everybody, but most of the guys that, you know, when you think about like the Anthony Davises, the Kawhis of the world, all these guys played beyond the 65 games this year. Yeah. And then some of these guys that went beyond that in the postseason wind up getting hurt. The Donovan Mitchells of the world, the OGs of the world, the Tyrese Halliburtons, the Porzingis, the Jimmy Butlers, the Kawhi Leonards. Do you contribute any of that to a heavier load than they were used to in previous seasons?
Well, look, first of all, it's too early in the morning for me to talk about this because I need a drink when I talk about this. I've been so frustrated. This rule to me is doing something for the right reasons and the wrong execution. I completely agree. They need stars to play more in the NBA. They need to make the regular season matter because that is where they get the bulk of their revenue. They need these guys to show up, and they need to figure out a way for these guys to show up. However, to me, the way to get them to show up is for every individual owner to take ownership of the fact that on their team, even though they're sitting in a room saying, these guys got to play, we need to get a bigger TV contract, that'll only happen if the stars are playing on Saturday nights, that sort of thing. But in their own teams, in their own locker rooms, in their own franchises, the messaging they give is, man, save it for the playoffs, I want to win a title, right? I want to win a title. Until that changes, I don't see this larger problem changing. And yes, some guys played more games or more minutes this year.
Like a few more games.
But
basketball.
But more minutes has nothing to do with this rule, and that's something people keep pointing out. Oh, they played record number of minutes. Yeah, it has nothing to do with this rule. So that's ridiculous. And a guy like Anthony Davis gets such a bad rap because yes, he's had injury issues throughout his career, but he has played
like 40 games a year.
That is not true.
Anyway, I'm glad that he stayed healthy all year long.
Yeah.
For the most part for us. Yeah. He was phenomenal. There's no question. Now, speaking of guy who got hurt in the playoffs is Jimmy Butler. So there's rumors that's out there floating around, and I'm sure you're over it. You're all over it on top of it because that's what you do, is the Philadelphia 76ers are talking about rumors out there that Jimmy Butler could return.
Sure.
Ooh.
Should they try to get Jimmy Butler to return, and should they give him the max money? I'm going to give you a triple barrel question.
Yeah, go ahead.
You two already.
Yeah.
And based on what Pat Riley said at the end of the season about his behavior, will Jimmy Butler be like, I'm out of here. I ain't got time to deal with this. I go get my money elsewhere.
I mean, look, the person the 76ers should go after the most is Paul George. Paul George is the perfect fit for those two guys, and he's been hitting threes at a really good clip. He is what they need in that spot. However, it is going to be hard to get Paul George to leave LA. So if that fails, if they can't get him, Jimmy Butler is certainly an interesting option. He's going to take some of the creation load off of Tyrese Maxey. He's going to help Joel and put him in good spots. And also he's going to take some of that around the rim and sort of, he doesn't go above the rim anymore, but around the rim. And he's just skilled with that sort of two-point shot, the mid-range jumper, all of that stuff. However, to me, it wasn't what Pat Riley said about his behavior. Yes, it got a lot of headlines that you shouldn't criticize a team playing in the playoffs when you're not in it. It was more what Pat Riley said about how much am I going to play a player who isn't there for a big chunk of the games. And that is just a fact. Jimmy Butler is 34 years old. He already misses about a third of the season. I don't know, we can get the numbers for that one too. But it has been significant. And the reason we talk about playoff Jimmy is because his level in the playoffs is different from the regular season. You don't get that level of production in the regular season for him. So he is a force. He is obviously an elite level leader, and he is someone who really fits in well personality-wise with Joel Embiid. They're still extremely, extremely close. Jimmy was at Joel's wedding. I see all the reasons why the Sixers might be interested, but it would still be a big risk, and that's what Miami's grappling with.
But why are they willing to potentially give him a max contract if it's such a history of not playing up to the full amount of games that he could potentially play?
He played 60 games this year, by the way.
Did he? Okay, so missed 22.
Yeah.
Right? So
That's not a lot.
He's not eligible.
it's not a lot. It's not a lot when Anthony Davis. It's a lot when Anthony Davis misses that many games, but it's not a lot when Jimmy Butler misses that many games.
It is, because every time Anthony Davis misses games as the most important piece of the puzzle, the Lakers wind up dropping to a different seed, or they come into the play-in and all that. So it's a little bit different.
It's a little bit different.
No, it's a little bit different.
But look, Jimmy Butler has been the most important person on that Heat team, so obviously that dynamic changes as well in recent years. But look, I think that it's a little bit about who else is out there. And we were just talking about it with the Lakers too, right? There's only a certain number of elite guys out there. The Sixers have money to spend that's got to get spent this year. They want to improve their team from where they were. They think they need a bigger sort of third guy. Tyrese Maxey has done great and really eliminated the need for them to replace James Harden per se. But they still need someone who sort of helps rise, all the boats and lifts the production overall.
I wonder how Jimmy would feel with Tobias Harris being there, because that was the whole...
Tobias Harris might not be there, whether Jimmy comes or not, is what I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But so that you don't have to worry about that, I guess.
I would not consider that the main worry. The main worry for them is his health going to hold up? He played for Tibbs in Chicago. He played for Tibbs in Minnesota. His body has shown the mileage in terms of the injuries he's had in different, he's injured here, he's injured there, that sort of thing. It's shown in the games played. And so you have to think about, we've seen it in the playoffs, right? Kristaps Porzingis has an injury history. And you and I talked at the beginning of this season about the addition of Kristaps Porzingis and how good he could be. And my comment was, hey, Kristaps Porzingis is going to be a huge improvement and upside for them if he is healthy for the 16 wins that they need to get to an NBA championship. Well, so far, he hasn't been healthy for a big chunk of those. So if he can come back in the finals and be at the level he played at earlier this season, great. But we don't know. It's still a mystery. And that's the thing with Jimmy, is that he could play for more of the season than he played in Miami. He could play for 70 games. But if he gets hurt in the playoffs, then he's not there. It doesn't help you.
So Colin Cowherd recently stated that Jayson Tatum is maybe the 5th best forward in Celtic history. Let's play the clip.
So when I hear people defending Jayson Tatum, we're not criticizing him. We're saying the standards are different. Right now, he is maybe the 5th best forward in Celtic history. Bruh, he ain't Havlicek. He's not Bird or McHale. And Paul Pierce has double the All-Star appearances and a ring. For a lot of franchises, maybe a 3rd in the league, he's their 1st or 2nd, 3rd best player ever. I'm not sure he makes the all-time Celtic 2nd team. In fact, I don't think he does. Here's the good news. The Celtics and the Lakers have each won 17 titles. So whoever wins the next is the tiebreaker. So if Tatum's part of that, it's pretty cool. But it's okay to say this. The standard is different.
So, Rachel, I'll ask you first. If Boston wins an NBA championship this season, will Jayson Tatum be considered an all-time Celtic great?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you raise a banner in Boston, you are in a whole different conversation because that is what they care about. They care about, we raise banners for championships. I had a conversation with Rajon Rondo recently where he said, yeah, that's all we raise banners for, which was a little bit of a shy. He goes, some teams raise banners for other things, which
Man, Rondo raised one banner in Boston. You need to be quiet.
Yeah, well, your team raised a banner for the in-season tournament.
Same thing I tell
Mickey
Paul.
Mouse.
Same thing I would tell Paul Pierce. Stop, man.
I'm just saying. So look, if he wins a title, look, Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce won one title. Their numbers are retired. They're in the Hall of Fame, right? So if he wins a title with the Celtics, that will put him in a different conversation in terms of where he is in Celtics lore and all of that stuff. And by the way, he's still young.
Yeah.
So if he wins this title, that's by no means is necessarily the last and only title he's going to win. This is a very good, very deep team with two big-time stars. They could win another one the next year or maybe 3 years down the road.
So he says, if I heard Colin correct, he said Jayson Tatum may not be a top 10 Celtic of all time.
He said he's not a top 5 forward.
So, but he then said the second unit, if you take...
He said he wouldn't make this all the second team for the Celtics.
For the Celtics. Yeah, he's wrong. He's beyond wrong. Like, I don't tell me nothing about no damn Havlicek and all them. Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. Don't give me 1952.
Dispute the heroes of Boston.
Don't do that to me. The top 3 Celtics of all time in my eyes as of right now.
Yeah.
Bill Russell, Larry Bird, and Paul Pierce. That's in that order.
Yeah.
Now you can go and find me a 4. Okay, Kevin McHale. You want to give me Kevin McHale at 4? You want to give me KG at 5? Then you want to give me who? You want to start digging the Havlicek and all them dudes? Go ahead.
He was pretty good.
They bounced the ball with one damn arm.
Get it.
They dribble. They dribble like this.
So you're done with the 80s and 70s.
No,
like
not the 80s. I'm talking about the 50s.
the
when
50s and all.
Man, wasn't no brothers even playing basketball, man. Stop.
I
need to stop it.
I have to point out to the people that you and I had a football conversation along this vein earlier today, and you just dismissed Johnny Unitas out of hand.
I wasn't born. Don't want to see it. Don't tell me.
You were like, no.
Anything that exists before I was born, I don't want to talk about it.
That is the national line of demarcation.
Don't tell me
That's
that.
right.
That's how I feel.
Don't get to telling me about because I didn't see it. You know, it's like we had a conversation the other day with Brother Babe. I call him Brother Babe Ruth because there's questions out there whether he was black or not. Wider nose, black feature, African American features, wavy hair. So we, but he was really good in his day.
He was.
And like David Justice would say, yeah, I don't know if he could have played what we played because it was different. So that's how I feel about when you get back way back then. I'm like, stop. Let's just talk about the modern day, the history of that. But look, if he wins a title, he's young, like you said, Rachel, there's many other titles to be gotten. He's going to go down as one of the all-time great 100%. NBA players, let alone the damn Celtics.
And by the way, he's made the conference finals 6 out of 8 years, which right now is being held against him because they haven't won a title yet. But trust
that's
me,
everybody, though.
Once you look at the totality of his career, the fact that he achieved all of that in that short span is going to matter.
That's everybody on really good teams that don't cash in. You start, I don't care if it was a Peyton Manning, a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that I was on, or LeBron's teams, MJ early in his career. When you are at the top of your game, but your team isn't cashing in, the first thing people start to say is, well, you never get over the top. Aaron Rodgers is going through it right now. He hadn't won. He won one, but that 13, 14 years ago. So it's like, well, dude ain't won one. He still hadn't won. Josh Allen's going through it in football. We're getting sick and tired of watching all the great highlights and all the big time stuff, and you hadn't won yet. But I think Jayson Tatum them is right there kicking in the door. They hadn't got all the hinges off the side of the door yet. Just some of the hinges, Keyshawn, and he'll eventually win one.
I mean, look, Jayson Tatum a little bit, when we're having these conversations, suffers by the fact that even though he is electric at times on the court, his personality is so chill and laid back that he doesn't like jump off the screen charisma-wise the way, say, an Anthony Edwards does. And then also he's playing alongside someone who, depending on who you ask and depending on the given day, is as good as him, better than him on some days, not quite as good, but still up there on other days. That is different than if you were sort of
a little more grimy feel. Yeah,
it's different than if you were the unquestioned only superstar on your team. So for all of those reasons, I don't think Jayson quite gets all of the credit in this sort of internet culture of, A, what have you done for me lately? And B, who's the loudest and who can say the cleverest thing. But we will look back on him as one of the great Celtics to me if he can win. And that is the most important thing in Boston, if he can win.
Yeah. So Bronny has over 10 workout invites, but is reportedly declining all of them except for the Lakers and Suns. Just 2 weeks ago, he was saying how he just wanted to get to the league and didn't care about playing with his dad. So if he just wants to be in the league, why is he declining workouts, you think?
Yeah, well, look, part of the issue that they have said all along is they want to make sure he can draft it into a situation that is good for him. Otherwise, he will transfer to a different college and stay in school.
That's over with
So
now.
that is part of the, well, that,
Can't go back
Can
now.
he? Yeah, can he go back?
well,
No.
has he signed with an agent?
No, but he
I don't
can't,
think so.
He can't. The deadline passed
For
yesterday
the portal?
for him to be able to just
able
go
to-
back to school at all.
Okay.
You had a certain date, as you know.
Yeah.
You may just not
I
have
didn't
the
realize
calendar
it had
in your
passed. Yeah,
head.
I didn't know that
it
passed
passed
yet.
yesterday.
Okay.
For him
I still think
to stay in the draft.
Look, if you have what is in essence a guaranteed Lakers spot, right? Because the Lakers have already come out and told multiple
That's easy.
reporters. There have been sourcing from multiple reporters. They haven't said it on the record, but multiple people with deep sources in the Lakers have reported that the Lakers are ready to offer Bronny a spot. So if you know that you have that in one hand, then you can be picky about where else you think he might be a good fit. And look, I don't know. I'm not inside those family discussions. Some of it might be where they think he can get playing time. Some of it might be the coaching that they think he can get. Some of it might be that this kid's heart stopped last year, that he actually died for a few minutes, and that being not that far from home is important to him and his family. I don't know, but it doesn't shock me that they are trying to limit sort of who has access to him, because that happens with players who can't afford to be choosy. And while Bronny cannot afford to be choosy in the traditional way, where I'm so elite that I can only work out for 2 or 3 teams because I know the first person who gets a shot at me is going to want to take me, he can afford to be choosy because they seem to already have a bird in the hand.
Yeah, when you have, you know, I'm not Bronny James, nor am I LeBron James, but I was the number 1 pick of the draft.
Yeah.
I didn't work out for everybody.
No.
At all. Whatever I did at the combine, it is what it is. You
Yeah.
get what you get.
You watched me in college, you know who I am.
You watched me in college, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I hung out with the Jets and hung out after with the Jacksonville Jaguars that flew out to L.A. and Tom Coughlin and I, and we ate, and that was it. And that was it.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't getting ready to be flying and I wasn't doing all that, Keyshawn. Because
Well,
you're
you
not
were-
going to draft me any damn way. You wasted my time.
Right. And you were the projected number 1 pick even before the draft. Like everyone knew you were getting taken number 1, right? So why go to all these different places? And by the way, all that those workouts could have really done, if you were already at the top,
Pushes you
all
down.
they could have done is I didn't
More
like when he did
scrutiny,
that.
more this,
I
more
didn't
that.
like his answer to that question.
And you know that if you were Bronny and LeBron and Clutch
Mm-hmm.
and Rich Paul, you already know. Like most, because there was reports the other day, obviously, Rachel, and you followed it.
Yeah.
If somebody draft Bronny, they got a better a chance to get LeBron James. I'm like,
I mean,
LeBron James ain't going to no damn Portland, man.
Nope.
Period.
No.
He ain't going to Portland. He ain't going to Orlando. He's just not doing Utah. He could take his son to be right here in LA where he wants to be.
No.
So that's an
So
easy.
you guys don't
Yeah.
think LeBron would ever leave LA?
He's not,
No.
not at this stage
Not
of
at
his
this
career.
stage of his career. I don't think at any stage of his career he would have left LA.
Well, look, if he was here for a year or two and it didn't work out, I can see him deciding to go somewhere else. But he is now so entrenched in the city with this team. And your point, your dad had the smartest thing that I've heard on this
I usually
discussion,
have smart stuff.
is that he cannot be a, quote, former Laker the way he would want to be and could not just live in L.A. on the day-to-day if he abandons this team.
Well,
I thought that point was so smart.
It's more of he can live in LA.
Yeah, but he can't
wouldn't
be who he
welcomed
wants to
amongst
be.
the fan base, and people would be, I understand you, LeBron James, and we'd love to have you at the restaurant, but we're booked tonight.
Yeah.
It would be one of those,
Yeah.
No, seriously, Kiki.
No,
Think so?
Yes, because think about it, son. Nobody leaves the Lakers unless you're traded or you're not wanted.
Mm-hmm.
The last guy to do that, to leave the Lakers when they were wanted, was Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
And look how that turned out.
I was going to say, not turned out well. And
It didn't turn
certainly
out well.
He couldn't live the next 25 years of his life. Dwight could not live the next 25 years of his life in L.A. and have the life that he wants.
Man, they put up billboards. They begged him.
Yeah.
Jeannie and them begged him to sign, and he wound up going to Houston.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't get along with Kobe.
Yeah.
So if he'd have just signed with the Lakers, you never know. But I think in general, though, with LeBron and them, they're really smart.
Yeah.
They're really smart at how they go about doing things. And in the business world, He wants to own an NBA team.
Yep.
Jeannie Buss is one of the top governors in the NBA.
100%.
It's just, you just don't, you want her on your side. That's all I'm saying.
No, your point about his post-playing career, whether
Yeah.
it's his time here in Los Angeles that he intends to live clearly for the next however many years of his life, or his time as he wants to be an owner and have good vibes around the ownership groups that are important, like Jeannie Buss.
Yeah.
I just don't see
And
any way
you don't want people saying,
he
fuck
leaves
LeBron.
Los Angeles.
Man, fuck LeBron. LeBron
Yeah.
motherfucker came here and didn't do shit for us, won a bubble champion. Because that's the way it would go.
No, of course.
He's got an opportunity, a chance to get a statue on the backside of Staples, not on the front side.
come on.
They're going to put him on the backside because he's not, you know.
His statue will be right up there with everyone else's. You know it will be.
You're
Yeah, no, I know it will, but, you know, it's just.
You know it will
I still
be.
got a little Kobe in me.
Yeah.
So Gilbert Arenas called out Rudy Gobert for missing a playoff game for the birth of his child. Let's watch some of that clip.
I mean, missing this game for that baby. I see you.
It's the baby, bro. It's gonna be there when you get back. We hope.
Right.
I mean, God, I'm just saying, the baby gonna be trust me.
but unnecessary.
The baby gonna, it don't know, whatever you about to think you about to do with the baby, he gonna be asleep.
Need that skin-to-skin
Sleep.
contact.
Okay, you ain't get skin to skin in 2 days. I get you want to be with your wife and smile and stuff, and your good NBA healthcare insurance.
Right.
It's because of you playing.
Right. Trust me, they got everything.
So in an exclusive with Fox Sports NBA reporter Melissa Rollins, Gil clarified his comments and said Rudy broke an unwritten NBA rule by missing a playoff game after his child was born. So what do you guys think? When players are making millions of dollars, should the job come first or their families?
I love Gil. He's one of my favorite humans. I've known him for a very, very long time. I could not disagree with him more on this. There is a big difference between, hey, it's a baby, it's going to be sleeping. This was the actual birth of his first child. And that is a lifetime moment. You're sitting here with yours right here. That is a lifetime moment that is going to last much longer than one playoff game. And by the way, they won the series. So I just think that, you know, if it was a game 7 and it was a second kid, all the equations are different. I'm just saying, I mean, look, it is, right? Had one, have, you know, whatever. But like for such a milestone moment of becoming a father, which I know, Keyshawn, how important being a dad is to you and how that is one of the most important roles you have in your life.
Thing. See how important that is to me?
Well, yeah, I'm just saying. But as long as I've known you, being a dad has been really important to you. Being a strong role model has been important to you. Being a good father has been important to you. That is a role in your life that you will have much longer than being a basketball player. And the moment you become a father, I just think that, look, I respect people who do it both ways. We've seen athletes in recent years who've missed the birth of their first child. We've seen athletes who stay home for it. The Timberwolves, from what I understand, were sort of encouraging him to not kind of have his mind in two places, to sort of be home that day and then come right back, which is exactly what he did. So I don't have any problem with it.
You know, Gil crazy as a motherfucker, number one.
He's so fun.
And
though.
that's my guy, and
He's so
I've been
fun.
knowing Gil since Gil was running around in diapers,
Yeah.
all right? He might have been having some fun right there, okay? And Rudy Gobert always gets a little ribbing in the side by athletes, former athletes, whatever the case is. Gil missed the mark on this.
I think so.
But there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat if you're Rudy Gobert. Keyshawn, sister,
Yes.
Maya, when I had her when I was in college, and she was born in LA. I went to school in LA. She was born in LA. His mom was pregnant. I would have at this time, cell phones were out. Yes, they were, Keyshawn. And so your mom would have the cell phone number.
Yeah.
The manager, we were practicing for the Rose Bowl. It was in December.
Yep.
Literally, I missed parts of practice.
Yeah.
Because she would be having contractions.
And
now all of a
what's
sudden, I
happening.
got to leave practice with football pants on and drive over. False alarm.
Yeah.
Then I go back to meetings, whatever. Yeah. Okay. Baby was born, whatever. Went on, played the Rose Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward, I was visiting Maya in Utah. She was living in Utah when I had Vance, my son, younger than Keyshawn. I had just landed in Utah. We were sitting at Benihana's. The food was ordered.
Okay.
You were at home with
Yeah.
Jennifer
I was
Keyshawn.
on the video game, I remember.
He was on the video
She's
game.
like the water. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What'd you say?
No, she said her water broke and I didn't believe her.
Right.
But then I ended up.
His
how old were you?
little badass.
How old were you?
11,
I was
right?
11 or 12. one
Okay.
of-
Yeah, his
I mean,
little-
what does an 11-year-old boy
No,
want
but his
anything
little-
to do
wait,
with
though.
the labor and birth?
Check this out though. His badass
Yes.
asked her, "Your water broke." Oh, that means I don't have to go to school tomorrow.
Sounds
So
like an 11-year-old boy.
she's trying to get the bag. You know how you guys have the
Yeah,
bag,
get the go bag
the go
and the
bag,
whole
trying to
thing,
get
yeah.
together. Meanwhile, I'm
got
in
2
Utah.
kids. Yeah.
I'm at least 45 to an hour
Yeah.
away from the airport.
Yep.
With the last flight in about 30 minutes, closing the door.
Yep.
I order at Benihana's. The food hadn't even come out yet. They probably gave me the soup and the brown lettuce salad.
Right.
I had to tell Maya, "Hey,
Gotta go.
I gotta go." I got back in the rental car.
Yep.
And you would have thought 90 miles an hour. And this is like my 4th child. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm flying. Woo, 3rd child, flying, whatever,
Yeah.
going crazy. I get to the airport, run on, boom. I go to land in LA, get in the car, Cedar Sinai in Beverly Hills from LAX. So I just slowly walk in, put on the glove, twist the head, right then and there like that.
Boom.
Boom. So what I'm saying is,
was
there's a
important
will.
for you to be there.
It was important for me to be there,
Yes.
willing away. Now, here's what I would say without knowing all the details.
Yes.
Could Rudy Gobert watch his son or daughter be born, child be born,
Yeah.
hop on a private jet, induce the labor a day in advance if something, I don't know.
Right. So,
you
we can't say
No,
about
I'm
whether,
wondering if he
Yeah,
could
yeah.
have
Look,
figured out a way.
Look, they did not want him having the baby in the morning, hopping on a plane and trying to play that night.
Why?
Because you're not in the right mind frame to do it. You haven't been through all the prep, and they thought they could correctly win the series if he wasn't playing in that game, and they were right about it.
But
by
they
the way.
they actually played better when he did play.
Well, he has had an uneven playoffs.
No.
He has an uneven career.
No, I mean, that
but he
particular
has had
game-
some great moments
But that
in both the
particular game, the
playoffs
team
and the
played
regular
better.
season. Yeah, look, could she
But
have
I
been
wonder if
induced a day
I
early?
wonder-
The C-section. Look,
No,
that's
but I
frankly
wonder
none of
though
our
if he could have
business.
just hopped on a PJ, which I know he could,
Yeah.
and made it though.
Look, what time was that baby born? The baby was born on game day. What time was that baby born? When would he have gotten that for? How much sleep did he get the night before? I have zero problem with him missing that game.
No, I
The
don't have a
team
problem with
was
him missing
behind
it at
him.
all. I don't have. I'm just trying to figure out how, if there was a will and a way, how could he have made it work?
Right, but is the best case scenario that he plays no matter what? Or is the best case scenario that they feel they could win a game without him and win certainly a series if he misses one game, and to have him with his split attention or to have him exhausted? Does one lapse if you're exhausted on the court mean that you're injured? I mean, there's just a lot of factors
No,
that
I
go
understand.
into.
I'm glad he went
Yeah.
to see the first child born. I just
Yeah.
wondering if he could have, because if it was me, I think I would have tried to play.
Yeah, he might
Like
have.
literally, I would have certainly tried to get on a plane and go play and sleep on the plane and do all those sort of things. Baby born, hey, see you later, babe. I'll be back tomorrow
Yep.
night. That
Well,
sort
no.
of thing.
Yeah,
Rachel, do you vote for the Defensive Player of the Year?
I do.
Okay, so Kendrick Perkins said that he was embarrassed that he used his Defensive Player of the Year on Rudy Gobert. Do you think he should have won, and did you vote for him?
Here's the thing I keep saying. Key and I have gotten to this argument for the last 2 months, 3 months since the voting became a big topic, is he is not on the ballot against Dikembe. He is not on the ballot against Ben Wallace. These are the other 4-time defensive players on the year. He's not on the ballot against Hakeem. I would have voted for all those guys before I voted for Rudy. I did not have the option to do that. I could only look at who was on the ballot this year. And to me, and I voted Victor Wembanyama number 2, because he did not have in the first 2 months of the season the same kick that he had in the finishing stretch of the season, in the middle and finishing stretch of the season, you have to look at the whole season.
Yeah.
You have to look at the fact that the Spurs came in 12th in the Western Conference. And I spoke earlier that All-NBA is much more about individual performance, but I don't know if you can be the Defensive Player of the Year anchoring a defense where the team finishes 12th. Rudy Gobert had the best overall stats. He just did for the entire season. That is inarguable. You can look at the numbers. And, I mean, obviously Wemby's blocks were out of control, but it's the whole picture as a defensive player. And his team had the number one defense that he was the anchor of. So look, I would have loved it if there was someone closer to Rudy. I would have loved it if Victor stepped out of the box and was just as elite as he was by the end of the season, at the beginning of the season. That's not that realistic. I think Wemby will, win the next few with the way it looks like, and maybe more. But this year, that was who there was to vote for.
Yeah, I don't know. Rudy he's fine.
I mean, Bam was on my ballot. I know Anthony Davis was third on some people's ballots, but there wasn't a consensus rival to Rudy except maybe Wemby in terms of DPOY. And you just have to, it's for the whole season.
Yeah.
It is. It's for the whole season. You got to look at all of that.
Well, I'd rather for him to win a championship.
Yeah.
Than Defensive Player of the Year anyway.
Yeah.
So
and he will.
And I'm sure he would rather win a championship.
Victor Wembanyama, I swear, unless there's some, again, knocking on all the wood, some sort of unexpected injury situation, I think he will finish a top 10 player of all time. I think he could finish higher of that. I feel perfectly comfortable saying that. I said that before he played his first NBA bounce of a ball. That is how I felt about him, and nothing has changed my mind. In fact, it's maybe a little bit the other way. I think he will win DPOY multiple times. We've had 4-time winners. He could be a 5-time winner. There's a lot of ups and downs that go into all of that. I don't know for sure, but I think he is definitely on that track. It is available to him, and there's so few guys that's even available for. We are going to be talking plenty about him in the years to come. I
can guarantee you what he will do, though. He will be the career block leader in the NBA in like 2 years.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Well, this is a wrap for today's show. Thanks again to Rachel Nichols for joining the show. And don't forget about our All Facts Pod giveaway. You win a signed football by me, and here's how you do it. You enter and you subscribe to All Facts Pod on YouTube. Don't be laughing at me. I stumbled a little bit.
I'm just saying, it's harder to read a prompter than all the athletes think it is.
Screenshot. We'll pick a winner after we hit 100,000 subscribers. All right, until next time, that's it for me, Rachel, and Keyshawn Jr. Peace.
Peace. Just saying.